Now let's face it, when it comes to comic book superheroes, 10 times out of 10 the names mentioned are either Marvel or DC. For close to a century, these two legendary comic IPs have given birth to the greatest superheroes in pop culture. These legendary names have expanded through the medium of pop culture entertainment, from the comic books to the graphic novels, the animated shows, the movies, the clothes, the action figures, the theme parks. You name it, Marvel and DC have done it. Now of course I haven't mentioned the one medium that I'll be discussing in today's video, which is video games. There have been tons of Marvel and DC video games over the decades, with varying degrees of success. But what would happen if you take the very best names from both sides and put them together in the ultimate slugfest? A clash between titans. The clash between titans. Well, that is the point of today's video as I look to create another dream game and build a roster of both DC and Marvel's finest. Now these are amongst my favourite videos to make, and previously I made two, in my opinion, excellent rosters of two dream video game fighting games in Marvel Super Heroes 2 and TMNT vs Power Rangers. Both of those games had roster sizes of 50. Now this is the ultimate crossover, so I'm going to do it a little bit further this time. But before I do, as I have done with previous videos, I will break it down into my usual categories. First category, the roster size. So as I was alluding to, this is the ultimate crossover with the two biggest comic franchises of all time. I want to break away from my usual number of 50 characters and add another 10, making the roster size a massive 60 characters. And of course the divide will be easy here, 30 characters from Marvel and 30 from DC. The way I would structure it to fit in with the model that is used in today's gaming landscape would be to have 40 characters ready at launch, with the remaining 20 to be DLC. But I will stick with my preferred theme of a single one-time purchase, which will give you access to the new characters when they become available. The same way it was done for Injustice 2. It will be done in 4 packs of 5, and in addition to this, there will be a 4th character in the form of an assist character, which I will explain in the next feature. And the next feature we move on to is the gameplay style. I have to interrupt this part of the video and say I was about 75% done with making my Marvel vs DC video when it was announced that a new Marvel fighting game is officially on the way, and I have to say it looks incredible. It is, however, not Marvel vs Capcom 4 as me and many other fans were hoping for, but it's a new Marvel fighting game made by Arxis, and it's called Marvel Tolkon Fighting Souls. And at first glance, it looks like it's made in the vein and spirit of Marvel vs Capcom merged with Dragon Ball Z Fighters, and those games are very popular. But even bigger than that, the game is an incredible 4 vs 4, which is a first of any kind for this style of fighting games. Now I had toyed with the idea of making the gameplay style 4 vs 4, but then I decided to just play it safe and go back to the 3 vs 3 but with an assist character. This feature of 4 vs 4 almost had me redo my script to encompass this new style, but I was way too far in to change my script so late in the day. But what great news that we have a new Marvel fighting game on the way in Marvel Tolkon Fighting Souls, and it looks amazing, and I can't wait to see how things unfold over the next several months. I will be looking to do a video on it at some point in the future. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled content. Now first, which gameplay style will be used? As both Marvel and DC are present here, do I go with the methodical fighting style of the Injustice games, or the frantic and fast-paced style of Marvel vs Capcom? Now I love the Injustice games, especially Part 2, but the Marvel vs Capcom style for me is better, and it's more established and would fit the look and feel for what I would want in a massive Marvel and DC crossover. The 3-on-3 is a staple in these big crossover games as Marvel vs Capcom and King of Fighters have used for years on end, except in KOF's case it's just without the tag option. Now I would use the Marvel vs Capcom style and I would couple it with the graphical look and feel of Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 already has excellent 3D animation in a 2D environment, so this coupled with the gameplay of Marvel vs Capcom should make for an excellent combo. Now as I alluded to earlier, there will be a previously used feature brought back this time around. Marvel vs Capcom 1 had the assist character feature, so that will return. Now it will be the standard 3 versus 3 with the ability to switch all 3 characters as and when, and then you will have the assist character. Now how I would implement it here is to have the assist character appear only for a set number of times. For Marvel vs. Capcom 1, every assist character had their own designated number of times that they can be used. So here I would set the number at 5. Now what I would have is for the assist character to come out and perform a super move, which if connected carefully, could cause some serious damage. But just to balance this out so it's not spammed, the limit would be for 5. Plus you need to do it and time it very well, otherwise it's just a waste of the 4th character's usage. The next mode is the gaming modes. As is standard for the fighting game genre, there are your various modes included for you to decide which fashion you like to play the game. So your standard modes would be arcade mode, your basic team selection of 3 characters plus the assist character, and battle 5 teams with the difficulty increasing as you progress onto the 5th and final match against the main boss. More on the bosses later on. Versus mode. Again, this is very standard. You pick your chosen team and play against other human opponents, or you can select your chosen opponents and then have them operated by the CPU on whatever difficulty you want. Very straightforward. Story mode. I would borrow from the Injustice storylines by going through a whole campaign with different teams as chosen by the CPU as it relates to the character's part in the story. There will be full-on cinematic cutscenes spliced throughout to make a full-on animated movie feature that unlocks as you progress through the game. You will take on the final 2 bosses, and there will be more on that later too. Minigames. Similar to what I suggested for a Marvel Superheroes 2 roster, maybe have little quizzes about both DC and Marvel's universes, have mini card games as an option for something lighter to complement the heavy fighting and story action. Unlocking various power-ups that can be added to a character's moveset, similar to the Heroes and Heralds function found in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Online mode. Very straightforward. You take to the internet and challenge players from across the globe and see who's best. Finally, World Tour. Now this is a feature heavily inspired by Street Fighter 6's World Tour mode. This will be a single player story mode featuring a customizable character that would go exploring 3D environments of some of the most popular cities found within both Marvel and DC. Places like the Daily Bugle, Star Labs, the Batcave, the Fortress of Solitude, the Fantastic Four building, and so on and so on. It would operate as an action-adventure game which would see your character attain certain power-ups and become stronger as he progresses through the world. The added caveat is that he can become a playable character and join the roster, but only in the versus mode. And I'm thinking he can be selected in the same style as how Akuma was selected in X-Men vs Street Fighter by being hidden away. Next up is the actual roster. Now here comes my favourite part, naming who's going to be participating in this game. Given the vast amount of characters in both universes, it was always going to be a challenge to decide who gets selected. Now obviously there are some obvious untouchables that get in with no questions asked, along with some fan favourites. On the DC side, it would be not one but 2 main trinities, the Arrowverse trinity of The Flash, Green Arrow and Supergirl, and then of course the DC trinity of Batman, Wonder Woman and Superman. On the Marvel side, there will be the big 4 of the Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk and Thor, and then add in 2 of the biggest superheroes ever in Wolverine and Spider-Man. So that's the starting dozen with the obvious mainstays, so deciding the final 48 will be no easy feat whatsoever. And in any event, let's start picking the names. So on the DC side of things, here is the DC roster I've selected in full. Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, The Flash, Green Arrow, Supergirl, Green Lantern John Stewart, Cyborg, Aquaman, Black Canary, Black Lightning, Dr. Fate, Shazam, Vixen, Zatanna, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter John Jones, Robin, Nightwing, Batwoman, the Joker, Lex Luthor, Harley Quinn, Red Hood, Bane, Deathstroke, Reverse Flash, Black Adam, and Darkseid. And now on to the Marvel selection. Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, Thor, Wolverine, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm the Human Torch, Ben Grimm the Thing, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Cyclops, Gambit, Storm, Cable, Mystique, Juggernaut, Magneto, Daredevil, The Punisher, Loki, Blade the Vampire Hunter, Venom, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, and Thanos. There were plenty of names I considered for the roster that I had left out. As I said earlier, there will be a fourth character, an assist character, and some of the names left out of the main roster will now make it onto this list. I will add an additional 16 names, which takes the full total of characters in the playable section to an incredible 76 characters. I mean, it is a big event, so you're going to go with possibly the biggest Marvel and DC roster ever. So in any event, these are the assist characters that I have chosen. For the Marvel side, I have selected Scarlet Witch, Rogue, Nova, Ghost Rider, Psylocke, She-Hulk, Silver Surfer, Jean Grey. For the DC side, Power Girl, Cheetah, Stargirl, Killer Frost, Aqualad, Firestorm, The Atom, and Kid Flash. And that is it when it comes to the full fighting roster, an incredible mix of the finest superheroes of all time with fan favourites and exciting newcomers joining forces to create this incredible roster. More than likely there are names that I can't think of that people are going to say, oh, what about characters like the Laughing Bat or Spider-Man Miles Morales? All good choices, but there's only room for so many, and this is my lineup. As an added feature, there will be more DLC content, which would see some of the Marvel vs DC character merges that we saw in the Amalgam comic series, when DC and Marvel came together. So there would be costumes which would resemble some of the Amalgam characters. Characters like Super Soldier, who was a Superman Captain America hybrid, Dark Claw, a Wolverine Batman hybrid, then Spider-Boy. Now there won't be any real differences to the movesets whether you're Cap or Superman. They will both look like Super Soldier, but each one will retain their respective movesets. Not quite done yet. I mentioned the bosses to appear in the story mode and the arcade mode. Now there is a plethora of big villains across both DC and Marvel, and I wanted to go for characters that I didn't use in my previous Marvel Superheroes 2 video, and in addition add some very powerful villains from the DC universe. So what I've decided to do is go for the arcade mode and have 2 sub-bosses and 2 main bosses, used in a similar way like X-Men Children of the Atom, with Juggernaut as the sub-boss and then Magneto as the main boss. You can select which set to take on in the arcade mode, and after going through the gauntlet, the final pair will await. Now, who are going to be the bosses? As has been the theme for this video, half and half, so 1 sub-boss from Marvel, 1 sub-boss from DC, and then 1 main boss from Marvel, and then 1 main boss from DC. Now, pair 1 will be the Marvel sub-boss plus the DC main boss. Pair 2 will be the DC sub-boss and the Marvel main boss. So the character selected will be the villain who missed out on my Marvel Superheroes 2 roster, Kang the Conqueror. He will serve as a sub-boss, and then I can imagine him possessing a fighting style that comprises of Magneto, Doctor Doom, and Thanos. Kang has a rich history in the comics, and he has battled on many occasions the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. Getting through him, and then the next boss will be Brainiac, a super powered version of the character that will function in a manner similar to Onslaught from Marvel vs Capcom. A small version with a dangerous moveset, and then his final version which will see him merge with his ship to form a massive on-screen villain similar to what we saw with Ultron Omega from Marvel vs Capcom Infinite. Pair 2, for the sub-boss I've chosen the alien tyrant Bizarro, a major villain in the DC comics. Complete with pink skin, psychic abilities and his 3 eyes, he has proven to be a formidable opponent for the Justice League. Even though he is a sub-boss here, he will make for a formidable foe complete with movesets which would involve the use of his psychic powers. Defeat him and then you move on to the main villain in this pairing. No, the King in Black, the villain who created the race of beings known as the symbiotes. With regular connections over the years with Venom and Carnage, he's also been known to tangle regularly in the comics with Thor as his enemy, and he also did battles with the Silver Surfer. And he also did appear in the 3rd Venom movie. The style I'm thinking for him would comprise of Dante, a little bit of Blackheart, and then Monster Hunter from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, along with over-the-top moves similar to that of Venom, just a lot more powerful and a lot more faster. So those are the 4 main boss characters for the arcade game, and it's quite a formidable quartet that would pose many challenges for the Marvel and DC superheroes. Now finally, I move on to the main villains in the story mode. The story mode will comprise of elements from the DC vs Marvel comic books miniseries for the cutscenes. As I said, you will go through a story mode similar to the Injustice storylines and the Marvel vs Capcom Infinite story, just with better drawn graphics and a much better storyline. I mean, Marvel vs Capcom Infinite flopped on so many levels. Now as the story progresses, you will take control of the assigned characters to fight your way through the story. For the main villains, I'm going for a 3-pronged attack. First you will take on superpowered versions first of the team of Thanos and Darkseid. Defeat them, and then the next stage will be 2 of them merged as one, which I will call this merger Dark Thanos. And as you can imagine, this incarnation will have both supervillains' powers, just way more powerful, even having a super which splits the 2 entities and have them use the Infinity Gauntlet and the anti-life equation. I mean, this would be a deadly duo, tough as nails to beat, but not the final boss. Stronger than this duo? Yep. So I am going to be going for the brothers as the final bosses in the story mode. The brothers are the 2 cosmic entities that represented each comic in the DC vs Marvel miniseries. I won't go too much into their origins for the sake of time in this video, but the story will encompass the brothers becoming aware of each other's universes and selecting the heroes from their respective worlds and putting them in several battles against each other. In the gameplay, once the story has played out with the heroes taking on each other and then defeating Darkseid and Thanos and then the hybrid Dark Thanos, you will then take on the brothers, who will be first a tag team and they will tag out at will whilst being able to use every single character's movesets, as they are very powerful cosmic beings. Defeat the team, and just like with Dark Thanos, the brothers will join together to become one and will be a huge on-screen presence like Galactus was in Marvel vs Capcom 3, only with a more powerful moveset and faster reflexes, making for what could be the most formidable opponent ever assembled in a fighting game. Defeat the brothers and everyone is returned to their respective universes, and the brothers go back to being dormant, and the end of story. Wow, that was quite an arduous but fun task putting together this cast of characters for this amazing dream roster. It is quite a fun one to look at from first glance, with the characters all set to operate in the chaotic world of Marvel vs Capcom, but the DC characters with their movesets used in Injustice reworked so it fits in the style of Marvel vs Capcom. After all this, it sadly is a game that will not materialize anytime soon due to the fact that both entities are owned by separate companies, Disney and Warner Brothers. Trying to get those 2 to come for a video game, that sounds like an absolute licensing nightmare. Not to mention the 2 companies are unlikely to agree on a monetary basis. Now yes, this big crossover did happen in the comics, but this was before Disney owned the Marvel franchise. For it to happen in today's landscape, there would have to be a lot of negotiations to take place to agree on how this would work. And with Marvel and DC being competitors, highly unlikely we'll ever see a game in this world. So until such a time happens, we can only dream. Well, if you've made it this far to the video, many thanks for indulging with me. If you like what you saw, please leave a comment and a thumbs up as it helps my channel grow. In any event, thank you very much for watching. I am K-Man of Smugface Entertainment, and I will see you on the next video.